Well, I said music makes people do crazy things, like travel great distances to come to listen to a discussion about music. What you are doing is at the outer end of craziness. Sarah called up and said she was very interested in singing today, and it turns out she is performing this piece tonight in a performance in Princeton, New Jersey. Right? And I said to her, she said, could she go first? Because she has a train that she's got to get to in order to get her down to Princeton, New Jersey in time to sing tonight this opera. And there's no rehearsal between this morning and this evening. And I said to her, Sarah, what would happen if I suggest some very radical change in the way you're singing the piece? She said, oh, I'll just tell the conductor. The rather unusual attitude of singers towards conductors. Look, you've understood what this piece is about. What's happening in this moment is a very kind of tragic moment. Tamino and Pamina are deeply in love, but Tamino has agreed to remain silent in order to fulfill a task. And Pamina doesn't know that, and the fact that her beloved is not willing to speak to her is a terrible blow, because she thinks the relationship is over. And she's devastated and feeling tremendous anguish and sadness and poignancy and desperation, actually. And you got that. However, you're having a terrific problem in singing long phrases and almost running out of breath. And it was very interesting this morning because I went on the internet and listened to 7 or 8 different performances by very famous singers of this aria. And with one exception, they all were having the same problem. Gasping for breath. And there's one place in particular where they cheat. And it's the famous phrase where this phrase, where, would you just do from there? Just do that very place. So what you're doing, it's beautiful what you're doing, actually. You're cheating a little here by getting a little bit extra breath, right? Which is clever, but it's unlikely that Mozart wrote a phrase that long, expecting somebody to be able to do it. It's one word, it describes one word, Herz. So you can't break it up, really. So that's a problem. You've thought about that problem, haven't you? Yes. And what have you thought about it?
Taking it at a faster tempo.
Well, that's a possibility. That's a possibility. It's a possibility that actually all those 7 singers and another 150,000 of them since Mozart's day have actually thought of this piece in a wrong way. That it's not an adagio molto, it's an andante. All right? And because it's an andante, it actually moves at a certain tempo in 2, not in 6 very slowly. So that's where you might run into a little problem with your conductor tonight. But let's see if we can be really convinced about it. So an andante in 2, an andante in 6/8 is always in 2. That means bom, bom, bom. Now, there's a very beautiful thing which you may not be aware of, but you're in the middle of this performance. So just before you sing this, you sing a duet with Papageno, in which you celebrate the joy of love. You remember that?
Yes.
And it's a very beautiful very beautiful piece. Here, look, and you sing. So it's boom, boom, boom. Isn't that beautiful? And that's exactly the same tempo. It's andante. Do it again. Good. And what you're singing about is how wonderful it is to be in love, and you're absolutely confident about love. And now you come to a difficult situation in your own life in which exactly the same boom, 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 andante, the same figure exactly in the orchestra, except now, instead of singing about the declaration of faith, about the power of love, you're in a piteous state of disillusionment and sadness, and you're singing at exactly the same tempo. And everybody in the audience will have just heard boom, 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 and now they hear boom. Oh, and it's so pathetic and so sad because of the comparison. But if you do it at the wrong tempo, that comparison is lost. All right, so should we do it? And it'll help you no end in your breathing. All right, but it's a completely different way of thinking of the piece. Yeah. All right, so we try 1 and 2. And no, so she's going to start. A little applause, please. You did it! And you know, the whole piece seems so much more appropriate because she's desperate, actually. She's desperate, she's confused, she's a young girl, and she doesn't understand why her beloved won't talk to her. She thinks all that remains for her is death. Right? And yet what comes over is her deep love and attachment, and that comes over so much, and it's so much more natural, isn't it interesting? Mm-hmm. And yet you go on the internet and you hear the first one I put on, I swear it was this tempo. You know, just play. One, boom, I mean, the sad thing is, of course, the conductor is the one who decides. And these poor women, it's sexual harassment. And they can't do anything. They say, oh, and they suffer, and they have to grab for breath. Now, there's one performance I came across this morning that does it right. Not quite right, but almost. And that's Renee Fleming with Sir Charles Mackerras. And Sir Charles Mackerras is a smart conductor. You can rely on him to come up with wonderful solutions. He's a great musician and sadly no longer with us. But the moment he started, I said, of course. All right. And she didn't have to breathe. So now, would you do it one more time from the beginning? And what this is a heart beating. Whoa, boom, 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 boom. And this afternoon we're going to do the Mahler 9th Symphony with the youth orchestra, and it also begins with heartbeat. Whoa, boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, always that heartbeat feeling. So if you can get that sadness of boom, boom, boom. So try again from the beginning, and this heartbroken feeling, and everything falls, every line falls to express your despair and your bewilderment, because you're playing it tonight with the orchestra. When you get to Ewig hin, you'll hear a E flat in the bassoon. Can you listen for that tonight? Ooh. Oh, that's like a dagger in your heart. It's so sad, that E flat, and full of longing and pain and suffering, all that you can find in your heart to bring out. So one from the beginning, and heartbeat. Oh. Bravo, bravo. Beautiful. Wonderful. You know, the beautiful thing to discover is these composers really knew what they were doing. They would never ask a singer. You know, Mozart was in love with all the singers he wrote for. He wouldn't make them miserable by having such a slow tempo. And you blossomed in a way that you couldn't before, and it wasn't your fault. It was the fault of the conductor. Now, in this case, the conductor for you is the tradition, the history, the way it's always done. I would suggest, incidentally, that you don't take time here because the word Herz goes all the way, Herzen goes all the way to there. And you're taking time here. I would take time after the word is over.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
And then you'll have player mehr zurück. You'll have plenty of time. Should we just try that?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's just try that phrase.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. From meinem Herzen. Or you do from there. I would do it even very slightly faster, because that sense of faltering, of hesitating, will come out even more. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1. Yeah, you're still doing this too slow.
Okay.
Because look at the accompaniment. Boom, 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 boom. Then you can take time.
Okay.
Do it one more time.
Okay.
And move right through it. So 1, 1, 2. That's right. All right, do it one more time. That's beautiful. Because you've got to get it ready for tonight. So, so think of it as one gesture. Da 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 dee da da. That's one word. Mine. Da 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 dee da da. 1, 1, 2. Yes, bravo, you got it. Wonderful, great, terrific. And now, just at the very end, you can take as much time as you want in the spaces between the phrases, but don't get slower in the tempo. And then when the orchestra comes, you realize Tamino is listening. So he's listening to his beloved saying that she's going to kill herself. And he is desperate, but there's nothing he can do about it. And all his feeling of despair and poignancy and sympathy is contained in this orchestral ending, postlude at the end. So just let's do the last phrase, even from... You know, when fühlst du nicht der Liebe should be really, really strong, the forte. Should we do that phrase, that last phrase? Yeah, that's right. So it's and one and Yeah, sorry, she didn't quite understand what you were doing, and I think maybe if you, once you finish that pause, that should be more in time.
Okay.
So that they know where to go. Just do the phrase, the last phrase, so we get that. Soviet, ooh. Do one more time from, and make it really feel in 2, not in 6.
Okay.
I'll give you 1, 2, and 1. Now, and... Bravo, you got it. Wonderful. Well done. Now, I promised we would end at 10:30 because she has to run to the plane. Now, a word before you go. What are you going to say to your conductor?
I think I'll say I'm comfortable at a faster tempo.
Yes.
Yeah.
But make sure that he understands that it's in 2, and remind him that the accompaniment of By Menon is exactly the same. So before he starts to conduct this opening, he should think, By Menon welcher Liebe, and then, boom. Ach, ich fühl. Like that. Think of it as the same way. I think he's going to need that in order to be able to negotiate, because there's no rehearsal, you understand. But you are living at risk. I mean, I said to you, Sarah, are you really sure you want to do this and travel down to New Jersey? He just came up from New Jersey. Isn't that amazing? But you're not singing Mozart tonight. So congratulations for being a courageous, brave person. Yeah.
Sarah, could you, I don't know what this conductor is like, but could you go to him and say, I'm so excited, I've just discovered something. Look at the score here, this is here.
Well, I think he was inclined to do a faster tempo first as well. And now I think I've probably this has helped convince me that a faster tempo is where.
But you could
the way it
still
should be
show
sung.
him where you got it from.
Yes. Say, you had quite an experience this morning in front of a couple of hundred people. Would that be exciting? I mean, look, we're all students, you understand. None of us have talked to Mozart, so we don't know. But we spend our lives thinking about music, studying music, comparing music, seeing connections between one thing and another. It's all we can do in order to learn. There are no recordings of Mozart. He didn't write anything. He just assumed that if he wrote Andante, people would know what that meant, because there was a language, there was a grammar of music in those days, which has not, unfortunately, been passed on to all the teachers in the conservatories, sadly enough. So they hear this piece sung, and I said this morning, I heard 7 versions of it, all of them, except for one, way too slow, and making the lives of the sopranos miserable, and missing a tremendously important, ironic point that Mozart was trying to make, which is at one moment you're celebrating the joy of love, and the next moment you've lost everything you care for, and he does it in the same music. I mean, that's genius idea. So we have to be constantly searching and searching and searching and searching, and then we die. Well done. Beautiful. Wow. Great. Wonderful.